When a man truly loves a woman, deeply, wholeheartedly, and soulfully, something changes in him that no one else may ever see, not his friends, not his colleagues, not even his family. It's in those intimate moments, when the world is stripped away and it's just the two of them, that his love becomes undeniable. Because only real love will make a man do this in bed. Not lust, not infatuation, not a fleeting obsession masked by sweet words, but love. That raw, selfless, vulnerable love that doesn't just want her body, but wants her heart, her soul, her peace, her healing. He'll reach for her hand, not just out of desire, but out of care. He'll look into her eyes, and suddenly it's not just about pleasure, it's about connection. Not about conquering her, but covering her, protecting her, cherishing her. The world has lied to women for too long, teaching them that if they give their bodies, they might win a man's heart. But a man whose heart is filled with real love, he doesn't take to win, he gives to uplift. He touches her not to awaken lust, but to cradle her soul. He's not rushing, he's not pretending, he's present. When a man is driven by real love, not mere desire, the entire experience of intimacy becomes something profoundly deeper than physical gratification. It evolves into an emotional and spiritual exchange that binds two souls, not just two bodies. In a world where quick gratification is often mistaken for connection, real love is a quiet revolution. It doesn't rush. It doesn't seek to take. It desires to give. When that kind of man lays next to a woman, his intent isn't to use her as an escape or an outlet. It's to create something sacred in that moment. He wants her to feel seen, heard, cherished. The bedroom transforms from a place of physical indulgence to a sanctuary of safety and emotional bonding. This kind of man is tuned into her feelings, not just her form. He notices the slight tremble in her voice when she's nervous. He reads her silences. He understands that behind every moment of hesitation might be a past wound she hasn't fully spoken of yet, and rather than pushing forward, he pauses, not because he's unsure, but because he respects her journey. He wants her heart as much as her body, and if he senses she's not ready, he doesn't take offense. He listens. He honors, because his goal isn't just physical closeness, it's emotional alignment. When real love is present, intimacy becomes a language of the soul. It's not about mastering techniques or performing acts. It's about being present in a way that says, I'm here, I see you, I choose you. Every touch, every look, every whisper becomes intentional. A woman feels a different kind of security in his arms. She feels like she doesn't need to impress or pretend. She can let go, she can breathe, she can be her truest self, fragile, flawed, human, and still be deeply desired. Because his desire doesn't come from the shape of her body, it comes from the depth of who she is, from her strength, her laughter, her scars, her story. What happens in that space is healing. It's a level of safety that rewrites narratives of shame, fear, and self-doubt. Many women walk into intimacy carrying silent burdens, memories of being used, dismissed, or misunderstood. But when real love is present, those burdens begin to melt. A man who loves with his soul doesn't just make love with his hands. He loves with his heart, his presence, his care. He notices when her breathing shifts. He pays attention when her eyes look away. He asks softly if she's okay. And she knows he means it. She knows she can speak and he'll listen, not with judgment, but with grace. This sacred kind of intimacy creates a bond that words can't fully describe. It's not just chemistry. It's not just compatibility. It's something eternal. It's the unspoken understanding between two people who have chosen to be safe places for one another. It's when the act is no longer about pleasure, it's about protection. It's about saying, you don't have to carry that alone anymore. I'm here now, and I'm staying. This is the kind of love that leaves a mark, not on the skin, but on the soul. It's what every woman deserves and every man is capable of when he chooses to love not just with passion, but with purity and presence. When a man truly loves a woman, something inside him shifts. His approach to intimacy transforms from something instinctual to something intentional. No longer seeks to satisfy just his own desires. His heart begins to crave her joy, her comfort, her peace. In the bedroom, this becomes most evident. Real love turns him into someone patient, someone gentle, someone deeply attentive. He's not rushing to a destination. He's focused on the journey, her journey. He's not just there for the moments that excite him, but for the small signs that show how she feels, what she needs, and where she might still be healing. In real love, the man doesn't see her as an object to be conquered, but as a person to be cared for. He listens with more than his ears. He observes her body language. He slows down, not because he's uncertain, but because he's in tune. He realizes that a woman's heart often speaks louder than her words, that sometimes her silence says more than her smile. And so in that sacred space, he becomes fully present. He's not thinking about himself. He's not counting the minutes. He's not chasing a high. He's holding space for her, just as she is, wherever she is in that moment. There is a softness to his touch, not because he's weak, but because he's strong enough to be tender. The world may teach men to be dominant, assertive, even aggressive, but real love teaches him to be gentle, not to control, but to guide, not to overwhelm, but to soothe. He pays attention to how she reacts, not just physically, but emotionally. He notices when she tenses up. He feels when she relaxes. He doesn't push past boundaries. He honors them. He doesn't treat her body as a right. He treats it as a gift. That kind of reverence only comes from love. In this kind of love, the man's patience is a reflection of his devotion. He's not measuring the moment by how much pleasure he receives, but by how much peace he can give. He's content to wait, to pause, to ask if she's okay. He checks in, not because he's insecure, but because he's invested. Her comfort matters more to him than his own fulfillment. And she feels that difference. She knows the difference between a man who wants her body and a man who wants her heart inside that body. The first one takes, the second one gives. He gives time, he gives reassurance, he gives respect. There's something profoundly attractive about a man who's attentive, who doesn't treat intimacy as a performance, but as a moment of connection. He notices what makes her smile, what makes her breathe deeply, what makes her feel safe, and he repeats it, not because he's trying to impress her, but because he wants her to feel loved. Real love never rushes. It allows space for emotion, for vulnerability. In his arms, she feels like she's not being judged, she's not being compared, she's being understood. And in the quiet moments after everything slows down, after the lights dim and the world fades, he stays. Not just physically, but emotionally. He stays with his presence, with his warmth, with his attention. He listens to the sound of her breath. He holds her as if nothing else matters. Because to him, in that moment, nothing else does. That's the power of a man whose love is patient, gentle, and attentive. It's not about what he gets. It's about what he gives and how he makes her feel, not just wanted, but deeply, undeniably safe. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood qualities in a man, especially when it comes to intimacy. The world often teaches men to suppress their emotions, to lead with power, dominance, and control. But when a man is truly in love, something breaks open within him. He no longer sees vulnerability as weakness. He begins to recognize it as the strongest thing he can offer. In the privacy of the bedroom where masks come off and defenses fall away, a man who is truly in love allows his heart to be seen. He doesn't just show up physically, he shows up emotionally. He doesn't pretend to be invincible. He lets her in, and that takes more courage than any act of bravado. A man who loves deeply will speak his heart, not just his desire. He will whisper things that reveal who he really is, not just what he wants. And in doing so, he creates a sacred space of honesty between them. He'll talk about his fears, his past, the things that made him shut down before, and he'll trust her with those truths. He's not afraid to shed a tear if something touches his soul. He's not afraid to ask, to pause, to share what he feels without filtering it for pride. In that sacred space, he becomes real, he becomes human, and that level of rawness is what brings them even closer. Many women carry emotional wounds into relationships, scars from men who acted tough, but were emotionally unavailable. But when a woman lies next to a man who isn't afraid to be soft, who isn't afraid to be still, she feels something rare. She doesn't have to decode his silence. She doesn't have to guess if she's enough. He tells her, clearly, gently, consistently, that she is. He lets her see behind the armor, and when she sees his heart unguarded, she begins to trust more deeply, because love built on vulnerability is the most stable kind of love there is. In moments of intimacy, this vulnerability takes many forms. It's in the way he listens when she opens up about her insecurities. It's in the way he responds with kindness, not critique. It's in the way he allows his emotions to rise instead of pushing them down. He might say her name in a way that carries more than lust, it carries emotion. He might hold her hand tightly during quiet moments, not because he's trying to lead, but because he's trying to stay connected. He lets his guard down. He doesn't have to prove himself. He simply wants to be known. This level of openness doesn't make him less masculine, it makes him more powerful, because only a strong man can be that honest. Only a confident man can be that transparent. He's not worried about appearing too emotional, too sensitive, or too soft. He's more interested in being real. He knows that emotional intimacy is what makes physical intimacy unforgettable. He understands that being close in body means nothing if you're distant in heart. So he bridges that gap. He reaches for her not just with his arms, but with his soul. And when he allows himself to be vulnerable, he invites her to do the same. She feels safer sharing her truth, her past, her struggles. She feels seen not just as a woman, but as a human being. The walls come down on both sides, and what's left is something no one else can touch. A bond built not on performance, but on presence. Not on pretending, but on truth. That kind of vulnerability creates intimacy that lasts long after the moment is over. It stays, it heals, it connects. When a man is driven by real love, his intentions extend far beyond the bedroom. Unlike shallow connections where physical intimacy is often followed by emotional withdrawal, real love carries a sense of responsibility that doesn't vanish once desire is fulfilled. A man who truly loves a woman doesn't disappear after the passion fades. He stays. He remains emotionally present, physically available, and spiritually connected. The experience of intimacy for him is not a moment to satisfy an urge, but a moment to deepen a bond. He doesn't see her as someone he conquered or someone who now owes him affection. He sees her as someone he's choosing again and again, even after the lights dim and the room falls silent. This kind of man understands that what follows after intimacy matters just as much as what leads up to it. He doesn't roll away or retreat into silence. Instead, he pulls her closer. He looks her in the eyes. He speaks words that comfort and affirm. He wraps his arms around her not as a final act, but as a continuation of everything they just shared. For him, it's not about climaxing. It's about connecting. And real connection doesn't end with a physical act. It carries into the way he listens afterward, the way he stays engaged, the way he honors what just happened between them as something meaningful. When a man doesn't love a woman, his actions after intimacy often expose that truth. There's a coldness, a detachment, a shift in energy that tells her everything she needs to know. But when real love is present, the opposite happens. There's warmth, there's protection, there's a sense of, I'm still here. That presence is healing, especially for a woman who's been hurt before. It tells her that she's not being used, that she's not just another moment, that she's valued for who she is beyond what her body offers. And that message, spoken or unspoken, reaches deeper than any romantic gesture could. A man in love doesn't make her question her worth after intimacy. He affirms it. He reassures her. He listens if she wants to talk, holds her if she needs to rest, and makes her feel that her vulnerability was not a risk, but a gift that he treasured. This is the kind of presence that builds trust. It tells her that she's not alone in what they shared, that she doesn't have to carry the emotional weight by herself. He's right there, walking through it with her, moment by moment. For many women, emotional abandonment after intimacy leaves scars that are hard to forget. But when a man stays with his body, with his heart, and with his spirit, he becomes the opposite of every past hurt. He becomes a safe place. He becomes the one who didn't leave, the one who didn't ghost, the one who stayed to see her, love her, and remind her that what they share is not temporary. It's not based on convenience or lust. It's based on commitment and care. This is why real love always shows itself after the moment is over. Not in grand gestures, but in small, consistent signs. A soft touch, a quiet whisper, a calm presence. It's in the way he makes sure she feels emotionally full, not empty. The way he holds her like she matters. The way he acts as if that moment changed him too. Because in real love, intimacy is not the end. It's the beginning of deeper devotion, of a stronger bond, of a love that doesn't fade with time or distance, but grows stronger through every shared breath and every quiet morning that follows. When a man truly loves a woman, his understanding of intimacy becomes profoundly spiritual. It's not just about passion or chemistry or even connection. It's about something divine unfolding between two souls. Real love opens a gateway that takes physical closeness to a higher dimension. In that sacred space, a man doesn't just see her body, he sees her essence. He begins to feel that something larger than himself is at work, something he can't fully explain but deeply respects. The way he touches her, the way he speaks to her, the way he breathes with her. All of it becomes a form of worship, not in a religious sense, but in a reverent one. He no longer approaches the moment with selfishness, he approaches it with awe. This kind of man sees her as a gift, not a possession. He doesn't treat the bedroom like a battlefield or a stage for ego. Instead, it becomes a sanctuary, a place where love is felt on every level, body, heart, and soul. He understands that the deepest intimacy is not about performance, but about presence. He learns her rhythms, listens to her silence, honors her boundaries, and respects her emotions. There's no pressure. There's no expectation, just a quiet knowing that what they share is meaningful and worthy of deep care. And in that stillness, something spiritual happens. A connection forms that cannot be manufactured or mimicked. It's authentic, and it changes him. Many men go through life believing that masculinity is defined by conquest, but the man who has tasted real love knows better. He begins to see that real strength is found in surrender. Not the kind that weakens, but the kind that deepens. He surrenders to the moment, to her energy, to the love that flows between them. He's not in control, he's in harmony. His ego quiets down, his pride fades. What's left is the raw, holy truth of two souls meeting, without judgment, without walls, without fear. And it humbles him, it grounds him, it softens him in all the best ways. In this sacred space, he also becomes a giver of peace. He speaks words that soothe her mind. He holds her in ways that protect her heart. He becomes aware that this moment isn't about release, it's about renewal, about healing, about affirming her worth in ways that even words can't fully capture. He senses the weight she carries and silently makes a vow to help her feel lighter. Not just in that moment, but in the way he continues to love her outside of it. That's what makes the intimacy sacred, It's not isolated. It flows into everything. And while the world often portrays sex as a casual transaction, this man knows it's a sacred exchange. He doesn't need to be told to be faithful, to be gentle, to be committed. Real love has already taught him that. It's shown him that every act of touch is a reflection of his soul's posture. Is he showing up with purity? Is he present in love or lost in lust? Is he honoring her or using her? These are questions he doesn't run from. He faces them because he wants to get it right, not for his pride, but for her peace. He wants her to walk away from their moments together feeling seen, not exposed, loved, not left, cherished, not used. The spiritual dimension of intimacy cannot be accessed by force or manipulation. It's something that opens when the energy is right, when love is real, when the heart is pure. A man in love begins to understand that her body is not a playground, it's a temple. And to enter that temple is not a right, but a privilege, one that requires presence, patience, humility, and love. And once he truly feels that, he is never the same again. Something changes in the way he looks at her, the way he touches her, the way he honors what they share. Because now it's no longer just about her body or his desire. It's about something eternal being expressed through something earthly. When a man is in love, his commitment goes far beyond words or fleeting gestures. It shows up in the way he protects her, especially in the most intimate moments. This kind of protection isn't always loud or dramatic. It's quiet, constant, and deeply felt. He becomes someone she can trust not only with her body, but with her emotions, her fears, and her insecurities. Real love changes the way he moves, the way he speaks, the way he responds when she's vulnerable. In bed, protection isn't about dominance or control. It's about care, tenderness, and intentional presence. He's not just there to experience pleasure. He's there to make sure she feels safe, valued, and respected at every level. That is what real love does. It transforms intimacy into a space of emotional security. A man who protects her heart doesn't take her trust lightly. He understands that when a woman gives herself physically, she's also exposing a deep part of her emotional world. He doesn't use that access to manipulate, criticize, or distance himself. Instead, he becomes a guardian of her emotional well-being. He pays attention. If she seems distant, he leans in with patience. If she seems afraid, he offers reassurance. If she opens up about past pain, he listens, not to fix it immediately, but to honor the bravery it takes for her to share. He understands that every touch, every word, every reaction either builds her trust or breaks it down. And when he loves her, he chooses to build. In the sacredness of that space, protection becomes an act of service. He slows down. He listens to her body language. He communicates. He doesn't make her feel pressured to perform or behave a certain way. He allows her to feel fully free to express herself, to be silent or vocal, to cry or laugh, to be held or hold him, whatever she needs in that moment. He makes sure she knows that her comfort matters more than his desire. And that alone speaks volumes, because a man who places her peace above his pleasure is a man who loves beyond impulse. He respects her boundaries, he honors her pace, he creates a rhythm that isn't driven by selfishness but by sensitivity. Real protection in love means he will never use her vulnerability against her. He will never mock her openness, never weaponize what she shares, never twist her emotions for his advantage. Instead, he covers her emotionally and spiritually. He becomes a shield from shame, not a source of it. If she's ever been made to feel used, he helps her feel cherished. If she's ever been abandoned, he reminds her she's not alone. And he does all this not with grand speeches, but with consistent, quiet actions. The way he stays, the way he looks at her, the way he treats her body like something sacred. That's protection. Even in the most passionate moments, his love stays grounded in restraint and respect. He doesn't take more than she's ready to give. He doesn't ignore the signals she sends. He doesn't assume or demand. He asks. He checks in. He adjusts. Because his goal isn't just to connect with her physically, it's to protect her emotionally while doing so. And when a woman feels that level of security, her heart opens wider, her body relaxes deeper, and her soul feels safer. She knows she's with someone who won't betray her. Softness, someone who won't mistake access for entitlement, someone who understands that love without protection is not love at all. This protection also shows up after the moment is over. He doesn't withdraw. He doesn't go cold. He doesn't make her question if she gave too much. He stays, emotionally and physically. He speaks peace over her. He checks in, he reassures, because he understands that intimacy creates emotional ripples, and he's committed to walking through those ripples with her. This is how love builds security. Through the simple, sacred act of staying. Through making her feel, even in her most unguarded state, that she's still valued, still honored, and still deeply safe.